Hello and welcome. I'm Lunita Brujita, and this is my Like a Witch series, where we explore all things witchy, from metaphysical and esoteric teachings down to the how-tos of practicing your craft. Today's video is an exploration of the ego. The ego is not your enemy. Therefore, this is not a video on how to destroy it. But it is a video on how to love it so fully it dissolves all resistance to you and you become a whole aligned being. In order to begin this quest, we need to know why. Why do we have an ego? Where did it come from? How do we know when it is speaking versus when our true selves are speaking? If it is in a state of resistance, why? How do we heal it and bring it into harmony with us? The fully awakened divine state is one of limitlessness. To experience limitation, the divine sleeps or projects itself into creation. In this way, the Creator can pretend to have limitations and experience limitations in all of their forms. The human experience is one such divine dream of limitation. There is a part of us asleep that does not know it is God, that believes in the illusion of the 3D earth experience. This part is your ego. The true self is that part of you still in touch with its divine nature. The ego may be misled into self-destructive behavior and thought patterns. Nevertheless, the ego is not a mistake or something that needs to die. It is part of the divine plan of experiencing limitation. The ego is an experience of separateness. It believes so wholeheartedly in its separate existence from others that it feels threatened by the idea of becoming united to the true self. For this reason, the phrase ego death became popular. The ego truly feels it may die, and if the individual identifies with their ego instead of their true self, the dissolution of the ego feels like the threat of actual death. It is a lie that to unite the ego to the true self means death. It means only becoming one with each other. In reality, the true self knows better how to care for the ego than the ego does. The deeply hidden goals of the ego are in alignment with the goals of the true self. The ego is like a shattered crystal whose shards are scattered to the four winds. The job of the true self is to discover these different shards, gather them up, and mend the crystal. The ego is fractured in this way because of past traumas. In relocating the traumatized parts of ourselves, healing them, and uniting them in love, we begin our path to enlightenment. Every time we discover another egoic voice, we have uncovered another soul shard to heal, retrieve, and unite with the whole. This practice is called shadow work. The more shadow work done, the lighter and brighter our lives become. We elevate in vibration, feel more fulfilled, and add to a treasure trove of wisdom we are accumulating. But what exactly does this path look like? To comprehend the answer, we will need to do a deep dive into the nature of humanity. In this way, we can recognize more easily when we are listening to the voice of our ego or our true selves. The path to bring our ego into alignment is fourfold and can be represented by the faces of the human, lion, ox, and eagle. The human face represents our struggle with victimhood. In it, we see how easy it is to blame our results on the outside world. If we identify as the victim, this face is looking down away from heaven and saying, "Not fair." If we identify responsibly, it looks upward and states, "I choose." The face of the lion is our struggle with imperfection. It represents our fear of ever being wrong. The egoic lion looks down, saying, "I'm right." The lion who is healed looks upward, saying, "Teach me." The face of the ox represents, like that of any herd animal, a desire to blend in with the rest. The goal of blending in is to protect yourself from blame. The downward-facing ox declares, "Not me." The upward-facing one says, me. The eagle's face is the face of detachment. It is an animal that soars above all and keeps itself from the fray. The downward-facing eagle says, nothing matters, detaching itself by rejecting love. The upward-facing one says, all is God, understanding that divine detachment is love. So our path lies in understanding where in our lives the lies of not fair, I'm right, not me, and nothing matters have taken over. Once discovered, we can work to bring that part of ourselves into alignment. But why do these lies exist to begin with? They exist because of a resistance to the truth that all is love, and love is the divine, therefore all is the divine. It is a negation of reality. We negate reality when we decide an experience is bad and therefore should not exist. The most common forms in which we negate reality are captured in the denial of the divine feminine and masculine energies and of their archetypes. There are 4 feminine and 4 masculine archetypes. The feminine ones, which are widely spread among the wisdom traditions within witchcraft, are the maiden, mother, seductress, and witch. The masculine ones, which have been examined in detail by the depth psychologist Robert Moore, are the king, warrior, lover, and magician. If we think of each of the 8 archetypes as having 4 faces, of the human, lion, ox, and eagle, we can see that in order to reach enlightenment, or our divine consciousness, we need to heal the lies present in each of our 8 archetypes. The goal is to heal each of the archetypes so each face looks upwards towards divinity. So what do the archetypes represent? Let us explore both the balanced and imbalanced versions of each, starting with the feminine archetypes. The balanced versions have deep gratitude for who they are and for the way in which reality presents itself. Imbalanced versions either turn inward against the self or outward against others. Let us begin at the beginning with the naive and innocent maiden. Her archetype is a celebration of self-expression, without any awareness that perhaps there is something in the world to fear. She welcomes all and hides nothing. When our maiden has undergone trauma, it is because something or someone has harmed this innocent and pure self-expression. From there, it felt unsafe, unwanted, or unacceptable to behave as we did before. We turn the wisdom of the maiden's message of I am into the lies of the 4 faces. The wallflower turns inward, ashamed of who she is, and hides, hoping to avoid notice like the ox and feeling sorry for herself like the human. The wild child rebels against the norms of society and even protecting her own innocence. Rather than having someone else decide her behavior, she feels it is unjust to curb her natural expression. The seductress is most attracted to expressing herself through the body. She has a magic to her all her own. The magnetism present in her energy and in her physical form is alluring to the whole world. When she feels that the world says her body and pleasure are dirty or wrong, she turns inward, avoiding attention and feeling like a victim. She avoids the pleasures of the body and may even find them repulsive. When she turns in rebellion against the strictures and beliefs of her society, feeling wronged for being called dirty if she pursues pleasure, she may lose sight of the sacredness of her sexuality in favor of doing as she pleases. The mother is our sacred sanctuary. In her arms we feel the most secure. Her every word is a comfort, and her ways give rhythm and life to the world. Some mothers put the importance of their children above their own and feel the victims of the responsibility of raising them. They step into a false martyrdom, denying who they are and what they need, while wrapped up in the lie that they don't matter. Others are neglectful or uncaring, preferring to satisfy their own needs and avoid the responsibility of caring for their children. This is a type of abandonment. The witch represents the wisdom and magic born through intuition and extrasensory perception. The witch knows what to do and how, understands the deep mysteries of the universe, and channels healing and messages to her people. When traumatized by magic, we may choose to deny the witch within. Usually, it is because of fear of the consequences of revealing we have supernatural gifts. Such women deny any connection to the supernatural and instead pretend ignorance. They are often successful in cutting themselves off from magic entirely. This leads either to avoiding attention and adopting fear like the simpleton, or adopting instead masculine logic and intolerance of the feminine like the bitch. Now let us explore masculine archetypes to see if we can discover any additional resistance and egoic shadows to heal. The king is the archetype that, when balanced, can provide for an entire nation the energy of justice and benevolence, invoking pride and confidence in his people. But a traumatized king's energy either leads to a weakling easily pushed around who is only interested in avoiding conflict, or a tyrant who abuses his power and brings only death and destruction. The honorable warrior would lay down his life to protect his country or people. He knows the value of the principles worth dying for and loves the people under his care. Under trauma, the warrior archetype may warp into a hatred and punishment of self in the masochist, or abuse of strength and violence in the sadist. The lover is the man guided by the muses, expressing his passions through art, music, craft, and love-making. He continually gives to the world and never feels empty. In fact, the giving only makes him more satisfied. When the passions of a man are denied, he loses the ability to express himself or receive from life any satisfaction. He becomes impotent. When his satisfaction becomes his only goal, hedonism sinks in. The lover becomes the addict, resulting in the destruction of himself and others. The magician is the guide into the world of shadow and back again. His discernment and knowledge lead us always along our sacred path to our own divinity. The magician who denies his gifts pretends innocence. This is in order to avoid the shadow within, usually because of a fear that its darkness will rise up and take over. He does not want to do the work it would take to elevate his consciousness. Deep down, however, he knows he is avoiding the answer to his misery. The manipulator uses the discerning eye of the magician to fool instead of guide others. He makes a mockery of the path to the divine, placing the sacred in the same place as the profane. Now that we have explored all 8 archetypes of the ego, balanced and imbalanced, and now that we have examined how each needs to turn the 4 faces of the human, lion, ox, and eagle upwards, there is only one more question to answer. How do I recognize the voice of the true self? The true self is a presence with 4 characteristics. It is courageous, caring, capable, and curious. Because of its divine nature, it knows all is part of the divine plan, and so fears nothing. Therefore, it is courageous. It is made of love and understands that fact, and so it is caring. It knows it is limitless, and it knows it has access to divine knowledge and wisdom, and so it is capable. And it came to have the human experience, and so it is curious as to how it will go. Any voice within you that has these 4 characteristics is your true self. In conclusion, I hope that this summary of dissolving your ego has helped you in beginning the process. I know you will reach your enlightenment. Be blessed, and may we all awaken together.